The question is simple. Will Canada choose dependence or real sovereignty in the North?
Tonight, Canada is using jets and minerals to make Washington blink first. Welcome to Canada Next.
Breaking tonight, America just blinked. The U.S. ambassador to Canada stepped onto a stage and did something no American diplomat ever does. He begged, not subtly, not through diplomatic channels, not behind closed doors, publicly, nervously, desperately. For years, Washington treated Ottawa like a quiet neighbor who would always follow orders. Buy American jets, accept American tariffs, stay in America's orbit, never question, never push back, never explore alternatives. Trump made that message brutally clear during both his terms. We don't need anything from Canada. Canada needs us. Everyone believed that narrative. Wall Street believed it. The Pentagon believed it. NATO allies believed it. Defense contractors built entire business models around it. They were all utterly incorrect. Because this week, Canada didn't just push back against Washington. Canada sent shockwaves through the American establishment that exposed a truth the United States never wanted to admit. America is terrified of losing its northern neighbor, and Ambassador Pete Hoekstra's panicked, stumbling performance proved it beyond any doubt. Ottawa this week. Something unprecedented unfolded across Canadian power corridors. In just 48 hours, Canada challenged the foundation of the F-35 contract, entertained Sweden's Gripen jet offer with a staggering 10,000 job proposal, questioned U.S. tariffs publicly on the international stage, and opened serious high-level discussions about deeper strategic ties with Asia. The American response? Pure, undisguised panic. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly stepped to a microphone and delivered a sentence that made Lockheed Martin executives lose sleep. She didn't mention stealth capabilities. She didn't discuss combat performance. She didn't praise the decades-long alliance or repeat talking points about shared values. She said plainly, "We believe we didn't get enough from the F-35 program." Translation: Canada is done pretending that American deals automatically serve Canada and interests. Ottawa wants real manufacturing contracts, real jobs, real leverage, and if Washington can't deliver, Canada will find partners who can. That single statement sent tremors through Washington's defense establishment. Because Canada isn't just any F-35 customer. Canada is woven into the supply chain. Canadian companies manufacture critical components. Canadian commitment validates the entire program's international credibility. And what happened next revealed exactly how nervous Washington has become. Because when America's largest defense contractor feels genuinely threatened, it doesn't stay quiet. It speaks loudly, aggressively, desperately. Lockheed Martin issued a statement that wasn't diplomacy. It was a corporate threat wrapped in professional language. If Canada reduces its F-35 commitments, industrial benefits will shrink. Jobs will disappear. Supply chain access will evaporate. Contracts will vanish. Not might shrink, will shrink. This was pressure. Pure and simple. The kind of pressure Washington has used for decades to keep allies in line. But here's what Lockheed catastrophically miscalculated. Threats only work when the other side has no alternatives. And Canada, for the first time in decades, has real alternatives. While Washington was still processing Joly's devastating remarks, Sweden rolled out the red carpet in Ottawa. Not just diplomats, not just trade officials. Swedish royalty arrived in person, accompanied by top executives from Saab, the maker of the Gripen fighter jet. Their offer wasn't symbolic, it wasn't a gesture. It was a direct, calculated challenge to American aerospace dominance. Build Gripen jets in Canada. Create 10,000 Canadian jobs. Give Bombardier a major manufacturing role in the program. And most importantly, give Canada full, sovereign control over its entire fleet. No American software dependencies. No Washington approval required for maintenance, upgrades, or combat deployments. No American oversight over Canadian military decisions. For Canada, this wasn't just an aircraft proposal. This was autonomy on wings, independence delivered in a fighter jet package. Ottawa's official response, they called it very interesting. For the United States, those two words hit like a geopolitical earthquake. Suddenly, Lockheed Martin wasn't the only player in the room. Suddenly, Canada had leverage Washington never anticipated. Dear viewers, this is exactly the kind of story you need to see. Because what's unfolding here isn't just about fighter jets or defense contracts. It's about who controls the future of North American power. When Ambassador Pete Hoekstra finally took the stage to address the situation, his demeanor told the story before his words did. He wasn't calm, he wasn't confident, he wasn't poised. He carried none of the swagger Americans usually project on the international stage. He was rattled, visibly, obviously, embarrassingly. He praised Canada's manufacturing capabilities. He emphasized how many Canadian companies depend on the F-35 supply chain. He kept repeating words designed to soothe nervous allies. Partnership, cooperation, shared prosperity, mutual benefit. Then came the moment that exposed everything Washington fears. It's not an American plane, Hoekstra insisted. It's an international plane. Think about that statement for a moment. The United States ambassador felt compelled to publicly downplay American ownership of America's flagship fighter jet, the crown jewel of American aerospace, the symbol of U.S. military dominance. And he's distancing Washington from it. That's not confidence. That's desperation wearing a diplomatic smile. But the most revealing moment came wrapped in nervous, awkward humor. Hoekstra made a joke that wasn't funny at all. "I hope you guys like us more than China." That single sentence carried more truth than any official statement could. America fears losing Canada, not just economically, not just militarily, strategically, fundamentally, existentially. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, the charm offensive collapsed entirely. Hoekstra's tone shifted. The soft diplomatic language vanished. In its place emerged raw American pressure, the kind Washington deploys when it feels control slipping away. "There will be a tariff," he declared. "Not maybe. Not pending review. Not subject to negotiation. A direct threat delivered on Canadian soil." He urged Canada to get into the lowest tariff bucket, not as a respected ally deserving consideration, but as a nation expected to submit to economic discipline, to fall in line, to remember its place. He even blamed an Ontario political advertisement for triggering a trade freeze, accusing Canada of crossing some invisible line by daring to criticize U.S. policy publicly. This wasn't partnership language. This was the language of a superpower watching its assumed dominance crumble in real time. But here's what Washington still doesn't understand. Pressure only works when your target needs you more than you need them. And Canada just demonstrated something that fundamentally changes the calculation. Canada has leverage Washington never anticipated, and Ottawa knows exactly how to use it. The real battle unfolding here has nothing to do with jets. The F-35 is the headline, the dramatic hook. But the deeper conflict, the one keeping Pentagon strategists awake at night, the one driving Hoekstra's nervous jokes, involves something far more valuable than any aircraft: critical minerals. Hoekstra exposed this fear when he suddenly pivoted mid-speech to rare earth elements, calling them essential for national security. He wasn't exaggerating. He was understating. These minerals form the backbone of modern military power: sensors, satellites, advanced batteries, guidance systems, missile components, communication networks, electric vehicles, clean energy technology. Every next-generation weapon system depends on them. Every future industry requires them. And Canada holds massive reserves, cleaner, more accessible, and more reliable than almost any source on Earth. For decades, Washington operated under a comfortable assumption: whatever Canada produced would naturally flow into American factories and American defense systems. Canadian resources serving American interests. That's simply how North America worked. That assumption just shattered into 1,000 pieces. China has spent 20 years building dominance over global mineral processing. Beijing controls supply chains stretching from Africa to South America. And Chinese strategists have long viewed Canada's mineral sector as the critical missing piece in their long-term resource strategy. If Ottawa diversifies its customers, if Canada deepens cooperation with Asian partners, if Canadian minerals start flowing east instead of south, the ripple effects would devastate American manufacturing immediately. That's why Hoekstra's joke about China wasn't humor. It was fear disguised as charm. The United States is watching its assumed control over critical resources slip away in real time. And there's nothing Washington can do except beg Ottawa to stay close. What unfolded this week wasn't a routine diplomatic disagreement. It wasn't political theater. It was a fundamental, structural shift in North American power dynamics. By questioning the F-35 deal, Canada challenged the largest defense program on Earth. By entertaining Sweden's Gripen proposal, Ottawa positioned itself as a nation with genuine choices, not a captive buyer forced to accept whatever Washington offers. By pushing back on tariffs and exploring global partnerships, Canada signaled a bold new reality to the entire world. The world values what Canada brings to the table, and Canada finally knows it. Gripen represents sovereignty. F-35 represents dependence. Minerals represent the future itself. And Ambassador Hoekstra's nervous, stumbling, threatening performance revealed exactly who fears losing that future. When American diplomats start pleading on foreign stages, when they make anxious jokes about Chinese competition, when they switch from flattery to threats within the same speech because nothing else is working, it means something fundamental has cracked in the foundation of assumed American dominance. America isn't leading this conversation anymore. America is reacting to Canada's moves, playing defense, scrambling to catch up. Mark Carney's government isn't trying to provoke Washington. Ottawa is simply acting like a nation with leverage, resources, partners, and strategic independence. A nation that understands its own value. And Washington realizes something terrifying. Once a country begins thinking independently about defense, minerals, technology, and trade, it rarely returns to its old subordinate position. Independence, once tasted, becomes permanent. Whether Canada ultimately chooses the F-35, the Gripen, or some hybrid approach matters far less than what's already happened. The old assumption that Canada would always fall in line, always follow orders, always accept whatever Washington decided, is dead. The map of North American power is being redrawn, quietly, confidently, unmistakably. And for the first time in generations, Canada is holding the pen. From Canada Next, where we break down the geopolitical moves that reshape North American power. Look, everything I've shown you tonight comes from public data and official reporting, but the conclusions, those are mine. You decide what it means.